The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced the shutdown of its state-owned refineries after internal assessments showed that continued operations were inflicting monumental losses and destroying national value, with utilization hovering around 50 to 55%, despite sustained crude supply and heavy investment. The candid admission by Group CEO Bayo Ojulari marks a sharp departure from decades of official optimism about turning around these assets. And meanwhile, the Edo State government has partnered with NNPC to establish a 10,000 barrel per day condensate refinery in Edo State. To unpack this, I am joined by Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, Development Economist and Investment Banking Executive. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Right, I know many people always heard that thought, that NNPC couldn't profitably run the refineries, but this admittance by the GCEO, it's what I'm not sure you expected to see. I mean, talk to us about it.
This is what they would have done 20 years ago. And this was actually what was done in 2007, exactly 19 years ago by President Olusegun Obasanjo in his wisdom. And, the problem with us in Nigeria is that we end up doing what we are supposed to do belatedly, and which ends up hurting everybody. Recall that Obasanjo was one of those who built one of the 3 refineries in Nigeria. Between 1976 to 1979, Olusegun Obasanjo, then as General Obasanjo, head of state, built one of those refineries. And as president between 1999 to 2007, he saw the futility of allowing those refineries to continue to be under public sector control. Of course, based on the inefficiencies and the corruptions associated with public sector things in Nigeria across all the 3 tiers and levels of government, and did not abating in the shortest term. So he decided to sell a majority of the shares of the refineries to the Blue Star Consortium. Interestingly, led by Aliko Dangote, Femi Otedola, and other guys, which Yar'Adua reversed, and we've not gotten it better till today. So this is a right call by Bayo Ojulari. I am not surprised. Bayo was a former Shell executive. I remember Shell was the first to build the refinery in Nigeria in 1965, and they have refused to take up the management of those refineries under a federal government-controlled arrangement. So kudos to him, and I think the next thing they should do, and which I think we should follow suit, is Bayo should supervise and superintend over the divestiture of 80% or even 100% of the federal government holdings on those refineries, even if possible, sell it as a scrap to deep-pocketed private sector investors that will take over that place. And let me tell you, the beautiful thing about those refineries, they still have accessories and other things that will help a private sector investor to locate more, to locate 300,000 barrel refinery capacity refinery there and utilize those facilities and infrastructure to reduce this cost by almost 50%. And again, we should also go further than that. The Brazilians are not more honest than Nigerians, but the Brazilians saw the futility and the silliness of allowing public sector control of their oil and gas assets. Some decades ago, the Brazilians sold down 72% of their government shareholding in Petrobras to deep-pocketed, technically savvy private investors, both at home and in diaspora. Today, Petrobras, managing 15.5 billion barrels of the Brazilian crude reserve, does over $121 billion turnover annually, twice what NNPC has ever done. They do $36 billion profits every year, and they pay $45 billion royalties to the Brazilian government, and they still pay $6 billion dividends, being their 28% shareholding in that place, the federal government 28% shareholding. So I will advise Ojulari, beyond this, they should look for a transparent bid arrangement to sell down those refineries, and then persuade the federal government of Nigeria to sell down their 100% shareholding at the NNPC, 70% to local and foreign investors, to allow NNPC to become efficient like Petrobras, like Nigerian liquefied natural gas. As long as we allow our key critical national assets to remain under public sector control in Nigeria and profligacy, I can tell you this is the kind of ugly stories that we'll keep on experiencing until we do the right things. And this is the right call.
That's quite interesting. I mean, a lot of money has been sunk into that particular project in the name of turnaround maintenance. Away from that,
money has been looted using that project. Don't call it sink. It was a deliberate action. When you see people in public sector award road contracts, do all manner of things like this, it's just avenue for those in charge to steal the monies. Let us use the right word. They've been using that asset as
all right. We need to go. 18 billion
from Nigeria.
We need to go, but I need to get your thoughts on this. That's the NNPC Edo deal. It's expected to, slash fuel imports with new 10,000 barrels per day condensate refinery. Are you confident that this project will deliver?
Yes, I'm very, very confident. I'm also very confident that Nigeria has capacity, if we do the right things and put the right course, to build refineries across the coastal areas of Nigeria, from Warri to Port Harcourt to Reshape to Azumini in Edo State, that can give us combined refining capacity of nothing less than 4 million barrels a day. If Brazil is today doing 2.4 million barrels of crude refinery in 19 refineries across with just 15.5 billion barrels crude reserve, Nigeria can actually do 4 to 5 million barrels refining if we put the right call and stop all this kind of shenanigans we do in this country.
Thank you so much, Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, development economist and investment banking executive, for sharing your thoughts with us on Business Edge today.
Thanks for having me.